Hello and welcome to TellerTactGaming and the Christmas special of 2019. And we are going to play some Transport Fever 2. And yeah, so how this Christmas special is going to work is that it's going to be in total 4 hours and 4 episodes. So each episode is going to be 1 hour, and the first episode is going to go live the 23rd of December and then come out one each day. So the first one is the 23rd, and then the next one is 24th, the 25th, and last but not least the 26th. So that is how that is going to work. Now, I wanted to record this a lot earlier because this is the 22nd of December, and I wanted to do this recording a bit earlier than so close to the 23rd, but I have sadly been feeling a bit sick, and but mostly what sucked up the most time was actually that I found out that my recording settings that I had was making the game look really bad quality wise, so I had to redo my recording settings, which took a lot of time, but what this means is that not only will this game look really nice, everything after this will have a much better quality as well. So expect the video quality to actually increase from this point on. I do have a lot of stuff pre-recorded, so that will still be from I had before, but anything I record from this point on is going to go with the new recording setting, which means that it's going to be a lot better. So with that, let's head on into the game. This is Transport Fever 2. I have played the first one, but I feel like the Transport Fever 2 has a lot of things the first one didn't have or needed, and Transport Fever 2 came out December 11th, so it's fairly new, and yeah, I like trains, so let's go with doing some trains. Transport Fever 2, let's see here. We have free game. You have a campaign. I'm not going to do the campaign. I might do a series where I do the campaign, but for this I'm not going to do it. And here we are where we need to set up our game. We can choose if vegetation is going to be temperate or if it's going to be dry, so it's shrubland, basically desert, and mixed. The temperate is mixed forest vegetation, and then we have tropical, which is islands and stuff. And depending on which one you choose, you have various different sliders to control to make the map different. You have the preview of the map being generated. It takes a bit of time, but we can see how the map is going to look, so we know roughly what we can expect. Now, I'm going to go with temperate. I'm going to keep the hilliness a bit on the low side, so it doesn't get crazy. The water I'm going to keep where it is. We have some water. You have fairly small amounts of water, despite cranking it up quite high. I'm going to keep the forest at half-ish. I'm going to go with a large map. You can go with a very large map. And we have how the map format is going to be, if it's 1-1 or 1-2 or 1-3. What this means, it's not square but rectangular. I'm going to have the number of towns on high and the number of industries on low. I do apologize about the music stopping, but it will continue once we get into the game. And in this box we are going to write in our seed special. I have tested this seed, so I know that it works, and for me it's not going to be super new, but I feel like we only have 4 hours, so I feel like it's okay. So this is how the map is going to look. And we click next. And here we have, if we change this like that, this custom isn't default, so you can choose which kind of vehicles you want. If you want the European one, the American one, or the Asian one. Now I'm going to go with European, and we are going to start year 1900, so we actually have some trains that travel at a decent speed. And then I'm going to go on a bit of a rant almost. I did test all of the various difficulties, and they are completely nonsensical. Easy, medium, and hard are all the same difficulty. The only difference is how fast or slow goes. Because, and I have tested this, if you have a route that earns you money, it doesn't matter if it's easy, medium, or hard, the same route, if it earns you money on hard, it is going to earn you money on medium and easy. And most likely, as long as you earn money on it on medium, it's going to work on hard as well. Maybe not from easy to hard, but yeah, because the thing that makes it harder is that the loan interest is higher the higher the difficulty, and the income you earn is lower with the increased difficulty as well. So what happens on hard is that you earn less money and you pay more interest on your loans. The effect of that is that it only takes more time. It's not actually harder, it just takes a bit more time. Now, if you don't know the game or how to do or all of that stuff, how you actually put up a line that can, in your brain, before actually doing the line, see if it's going to be profitable or not, then yes, medium and hard is going to be harder than easy. But if you go down to and actually analyze it, it's technically not harder. Which is why I'm going to go on easy, so we don't take up an unnecessary amount of time. Now, so we don't sit here in the create new game mode too long. I'm going to show the enable custom game settings as well. What you need to click this to get this settings button. When you click this, you get here. Now, I happen to have this on. I'm going to turn it off. What this is, here you have a list of mods. I have a few mods. I'm subscribed to a few mods. But mostly it's just I haven't played a lot with it, so we aren't going to go with any mods. So what we are going to do is go back, untick the custom box, make sure we have European, that we have starting year of 1900. You can start as early as 1850 and as late as 2000, but I feel like 1900 is a good middle ground. The difficulty is going to be easy, and we are going to click start, and we are going to load the game. This loading process is going to take a bit of time. It's not that slow, but it's not super fast either. And once we get into the game, I'm going to set up a line and do a bit of showcasing and talk about what you need to think about when you set up your line. A bit about the game, and then once we have it up and running and earns money and have played a bit, we are going to see what happens next. Once we get into the game as well, we are going to get some music. Any day now. $99.99. There we go, 100%. And here we are. You can zoom out quite a bit, and with the WASD you can move around. And yeah, here we are. We have quite a large and long map. We picked the large map, so it's not the biggest one, but it's the large one, and it's with a format of 1 to 2, so it's rectangular, so it's longer, which means we might actually do airplanes, but we'll see. And if we actually remember to pause the game starts at speed 1, and you can pause the game by pressing spacebar. And if you set it to a speed, it remembers when you unpause what you had it to before, so you don't need to increase it just because you unpause. And you have 1 times speed, 2 times speed, and 4 times speed. And you have also the date down here. Now, if you click on this date, you get the date speed, which means you can actually turn off the progression of dates, and you can turn it up. What I'm going to do for the time being is actually turn it off, just in case. And then we are going to see, we have about a bunch of buttons down here. We have road, rail, water, airplanes, but we haven't unlocked them. and terrain. Yes, you can change terrain, but it's going to cost you money. Quite a lot of money, actually. And when you build stuff in this game, you need to be a bit careful, because it's not sandbox, like you get your money back if you delete. No, it's going to cost you money by deleting. So we are going to have to be a bit frugal and careful. Like, we have to be careful with how we spend our money. And I have already picked out, when I tested this, a line. We are going to start from this oil well up here, Nantwich oil well. We are going to do a train line from there to this oil refinery, Crawley oil refinery. So from up there to this oil refinery. And the reason why we are going to do that is because of the fuel refinery that's here, and that Bicester over here wants fuel. Every single city has demands. Bicester has a demand for food and fuel. Food is a bit further away. We have the food processing plant up here, and then we have a farm here, a farm here, and a farm over here. Now, this one up here is too far away, and these two over here is a bit too close. One thing we are going to make use of is that we are going to put a train station over here, a train station over here, and just ship a bunch of crude oil down to this place down here, and just magically accrue money. Because we don't actually have any money. We start with a loan of 10 million. That's why we have 10 million as money. Now, we are going to click on the rails. We have the track here. We are going to click on buildings. Now, we have a few stations here, and the thing is, we have to make sure we pick cargoes. We're going to click on this button here to filter to get cargo, and we are going to do cargo terminus station. And you can rotate by N and M. Now, I have done a bit of rearrangement of my key bindings. For me, it's 1 and 2, because I feel for me that's easier. Well, let's see here. And if you think that it rotates too much, if you hold shift and do the rotation, you get it in smaller increments, which is really useful. I use that a lot. I'm just measuring out so I'm not placing it really badly. And we have settings for it, so we could actually make 8 tracks, like a super big one. We don't need that, we just need 1. You can make it shorter, and you can make it a lot longer. Now, we're just going to do 160 meters, so that is going to be fine. And as long as we make sure that we get this effect here, we want the station to get the blue lines connect with the road, and we want the oil well to become white like this. and we are going to lose a lot of money by building this. Now, if we click on the station, we can see this oil well is white. The thing with this is that since this is white, we actually are connected up to the stations. We don't need to do any weirdness. It's going to transfer all crude oil to the station automatically, which is really good. Really good. Now, we are going to go down to here. Now, the easiest would be to do this, but that way the station points the wrong way, which is actually going to cost us more than what I'm going to do right now. Now, we have the bulldozer here. What we're going to do is remove the road over here. You'll see why. We are going to go to the road, the street, and a small country road is what we are going to pick. Connect this up like that, and make sure we are as efficient as possible in our money spending. Now, what you do is, when you have selected which road you want, you can click like this, click and drag to drag out. If you release, it stays like this and you have to confirm, cancel. If you want to make it longer, you mouse over this dot and you can control how you want it to go. You want to make it longer, shorter, different, like go from a different place, but the starting point is always going to stay where it is. What we want to do is go from here and as straight out as possible. And we want to spend as little money as possible. I don't think that is going to be... That's less. And what we're doing is pressing shift, holding shift and pressing 1 and 2. Now, in the default key bindings, it's N and M. But I have redone that key binding because I feel the 1 and 2 is actually a lot closer, since W and ASD is what you use to move around the camera with. Oh, that's as cheap as it's going to get. Can we... Yep, that's as cheap as it will get. And we are going to go back to this. Now I want to keep this back as far as possible for a few reasons, which I will explain shortly. So we're going to place it there, and we're going to show off a thing which wasn't a thing in Transport Fever 1. If we click on the station, we have this button here that says configure. Let's click that one, and boom, we're in this weird mode where we can actually customize our platform. We could place down more rails, we could place down platforms, cargo platforms, or even passenger platforms, which means we can have cargo and passenger in the same station, which wasn't possible before. Now, what we're going to do is take this side entrance, set it up here, just one, that's all we need. remove that, because what we have now is actually a place for this to connect. Which means that if we now click on this, we are connected to the oil refinery without having to do a lot of stuff. Now, we need to put down the rails. We now have the two stations, one over there and one over here. Now we have 9.6 million to build with. However, a train is very expensive. It's going to cost us like 8 million to buy the train. We don't want to take out more loans. We could borrow 500,000, but we don't really want to do that. We don't really want to do that. We want to earn money and spend as little as possible. Be a true capitalist. So what we need to do is to be very careful so we spend as little as possible. Which means we need to follow the terrain. If we look up into the top left corner of the screen, we have this data layers, which is something we can click on and we get all of these things. We have the contour lines layer, which means we can actually see the contours. Now, they are not really visible if you zoom out too much. There is a mod that fixes that, but yeah, that's a thing. But yeah, we have this part over here. We have this mountain here, and it's a bit in the way. And this part is going to be expensive, which is a part we are going to have to be careful. We need to follow the road as close as possible around here. And then up to the station. We then turn that off. So let's see if we can make this line as cheap as possible, because yes. So we really don't want to delete a lot of rails, and this is going to need a lot of height shifting. There we go. As long as we have the rail put down, it should be fairly easy to... Oh, that was... Yeah, that's a really bad bump, but that's as good as it's going to get. Sadly, it's sometimes quite hard to see how level or not level the ground is. So if we do that, we get up on top. We then... No. I don't want to do that. Please stop. Bit of wasted money, but see where we can get it as low as possible. There. Yeah, there. And we have to make sure we curve this as much as possible, so we actually... No, what I'm going to do is actually remove a tiny bit, because we want to keep the track as high speed as possible while still making it as cheap as possible. I think this is as straight as it can be, basically. Yeah, it was very close to as cheap as possible, so let's go with that. Let's go with that. What I'm going to do is actually remove the road here and build this first, and let's see, that is to get, let's check the contours. Yeah, if we go in here, we should be fine. In like this should be, yeah, like that should be, we still maintain 120, but we get it for as cheap as it's possible to get it, basically. Let's remove that and redraw it. We need to lower it so we don't spend unnecessary amounts. Right there. There. That's the absolute cheapest. Let's go with that. And then we are going to get into a part which isn't super flat, and that is probably as good as it's going to get. From here we have a very flat part. I'm going to see if we can get it. Yep, that's a bit cheaper. How is the contours looking? It's basically straight on now. Basically. Now, the autosave for the game is going to make the game look like it's lagging. It's not. It's just the autosave stops the game so it can save. Just a heads up. That it was like that in the first one as well, so it's... Let's see. If we do this as is, we are down to 9.3 million. Let's see if we can make this, but as cheap as possible. This is as cheap as it's going to get. Now, I don't think we are going to get this. We could probably get it a bit better. Let's see. See how much further down we can get it. That's as far as we can go. Let's see, can we reduce the cost? Yes, we can, but that's as low as we can go. There we go. We have a line which costed us, what was it, like 300,000-ish? That's actually, I think, probably the cheapest one I've done. This route, I've done it a few times when I tested. But yeah, I'm going to reconnect the road. See if I can do it as cheap as possible here as well. Lower the cost. There we go. Because now what I want to do, and I usually do this, is that I want to, whoops, make this kind of thing. There we go. That's good enough. And then we just drag this along the track all the way up. Now, don't worry. As long as you make sure that the track is adjacent properly, the track is going to be a lot cheaper. So it's not going to cost us like 300,000 again. It's not going to be cheap, but it's not going to be as expensive. Sort of depends on a few things, but mostly it's not going to be as expensive. What we want to do here is make this so we can actually go 120 as max speed. Here we go. We now have the track, but yeah, this is just 2 stations and track. We need something to actually get a train there. So, buildings, and then depot. I'm going to get this. We actually see some contour lines. I think this is going to be possibly the best place to connect to. Like that. Let's turn that off. I'm going to do tracks. And we are going to connect it like this. You'll see why shortly. And like that. We have 9 million left, which is actually really good. Now, this rail here, where I cross, isn't connected. If we, as you can see, it's being highlighted. We click on it, we get this box, and we are going to say, yes, we want a double slip switch. The same thing down here, like that. Which means that a train from here can go on both tracks without us doing like a bajillion tracks to connect to each and every road. That double slip switch wasn't a thing in the first game, in case you wonder. Now, we have on tracks this, if we look, signals in the middle, path signal, and we can say if we want it to be a one-way or not. If we say yes, it's going to be one way. And what I want to do is say one way, one way, one way, and then we want it to out like this, not be one way, and then in like this. And then here, say like that, and then you like that, just to make sure that no trains crash or stop each other, or that they stop each other well ahead. We are going to have this here as one way. If we then go all the way over here, I usually do the two ends first, and then one way like that, and then we fill in along the way. Arbitrarily, of course. We have this. These two are there, so we don't need anything else there, and that's good enough. So we now have signals all the way. We now just need a train. And we need to click on the Crawley train depot here. And we need to click on buy vehicles. And here we go. Now I'm going to sort it to steam locomotives. That's the only kind of locomotive we have. And this is the locomotives we have access to as of the starting year of 1900. We have this, and these three, which I'm not even going to look at because they are old models. They have a start date and end date. Every vehicle has a start date and an end date, where they get commissioned or decommissioned. So, for example, this PLM 220 cannot be bought after 1940. The A35 can't be bought after 1960, and it only appears 1900. That's the reason why I picked 1900, is because this is the first really good locomotive. The PLM 220 is actually fairly decent, but the A35 is, well, a lot better, so to speak. Now, every train has a top speed, engine type, power, tractive effort, loading speed, and new in Transport Fever 2, emission, weight, build date, lifespan, and then your own choosing of color. And yes, it's not British spelling of color, which is in my mind wrong, but whatever. So we need one train, and I'm going to show you how amazingly expensive this is going to be, because let's take a look at A35 over here. It's going to cost us 3.7 million. Just a locomotive. Then we need the wagons to actually transport the crude oil. Now, thankfully, the crude oil, we only need one type of wagon, so it's some comfort there, but yeah. Let's add that one. It's going to be expensive. And then we have wagons. We are going to sort cargo, so we don't see anything else. And the wagons have cargo types. So you have to pay attention to which cargo you are going to transport to pick the correct wagon. For example, boxcar can take plastic, machines, tools, food and goods, and nothing else. The stake car can take logs, steel, planks and construction materials, and so on. Now, the tank car can take crude oil, oil and fuel, which means that when it comes to the oil stuff, as long as you have the tank car, you're not going to need any other car or wagon of some kind. Now, we have this one. We have to be very careful because every single wagon has a top speed. And whatever has the lowest top speed, regardless if it's the locomotive or the wagon, it's going to go as fast as the slowest thing. So a locomotive that can do 100 kilometers an hour is going to go 50 if you use the wagon that goes 50 kilometers an hour, which is something to be careful of. Now, the locomotive we have picked can go 100, but the tank car we are going to choose can only go 80. So we're not really going as fast as possible, but it's close enough. It's close enough. And yeah, we are going to pick 11 of them. We have a capacity of 99 crude oil, which is, it's good. It's not bad. We can go 80 kilometers an hour. The train is 111 meters long. Now, we have to be a bit careful because depending on how long it is and how much it's going to weigh, it's going to take a lot longer to reach top speed. And yes, weight is being considered when it comes to getting up to top speed and slowing down. So making a longer train isn't necessarily better. Now, this is going to cost us 8.3 million. But we need to buy it, so let's buy it. We now have a train. I'm going to close this. We happens to actually have been really careful with our money spending. So we are going to go into this and click repay. Because that money is not going to be used for anything else. And what we need to do now is to say where the train is going to go. So we click on the line manager furthest to the left. We click new line. We click where they are going to start, which is up here. Go down here. Click this. And we are going to name this according to my naming scheme. And it's going to be crude into oil. Just like that. There we go. We are going to go into train depot. Select the train. Say set line. And here we have the crude oil. Boom! We can click on train 1. We can rename it to be crude oil train. I'm going to keep the 1 because I will most likely buy another one when we actually have the money. And yeah, let's and by pressing Q and E you can rotate the orientation. And yes, here we go. Very slowly, but still going to speed up a bit. And it's going to go and pick up stuff. Now, everything has a running cost. So it is going to cost us money. We are already negative. What I'm going to do is take the date back up to 1 time, so we actually progress the date And yeah. And we are almost in the station. We should be, yeah. And during the time we have been traveling here, the station has been filled up with crude oil. Now let's see how much it is. It is almost completely full. We 10 more and we would have been completely filled up. Now I'm going to go to 4 times speed. And we are going to enter cockpit mode because we can go first person on this. And see how it's going to look along the way. And I really like this mode. Now this is where I saw a big quality reduction because of the clouds, but I think we probably won't see that as much. And here we get to click, I get back, and we earned 1.6 million. We are going to repay as soon as possible. And yes, this is what we are going to do until we don't have a loan anymore. We have 9 million in loan. Now, we don't have super much left of this first episode. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to run this line once we have ended the episode. I'm going to pause the date so the date doesn't progress. I'm going to make sure that this line goes back and forth, and I pay off the loan every time I can. And I will buy another train to make the process a bit faster. And we are going to start the next episode with this bit out of the way. And with monies we can start doing all of the other stuff which we want to do. Like making a new line or expanding this line and so on. Maybe even transport people or transport fuel into the city, for example. 1.8 million. And we paid off 1.5 million just by that delivery. So yeah. And we get new vehicles every single year, more or less, not always. Depends on when the starting date for a vehicle is. But yeah, as you can see, you get the pop-up that, oh, you got a new vehicle. So, but yeah, this is what we are going to do. And I am going to spare you the agony of watching me doing the same thing over and over again. And this is where I'm going to say I did this on hard. This exact same line with the train, the same tactics, everything. And it took me 3 hours to pay off the loan and have money to do other stuff. 3 real hours. Where I basically just sat around, did a bunch of other stuff, which what easy does is that since you earn a bit more and interest isn't as high, you actually cut away that part a bit. Not fully, we still need to do it, and if we keep on taking loans we will still need to pay it back. I'm probably never ever going to take more loans after this, because I probably won't need to, but yeah, like, and that's why I say that it's not actually harder, it's just a time thing where it's slower if you go with a higher difficulty. But I'm going to admit I am experienced. I have played the first one, so I have some experience of the game, of how it works, since a lot of stuff actually works fairly similar, or even exactly the same from the first one in the second one here. So yeah. $1.8 million, that's 1 million we repay again. And we have some details we can see on this, that our condition is very good, emission is 77, it's 2 years old, the value drops every time, like gradually over time. What's our capacities and so on. We have our finance tab, which show us our running cost and our income, which is really nice. We have some buttons over here which we can set a line to something, we can send to depot, we can reverse on the line, and we can just stop the train if we want to. Going to close this, and here we have the vehicle manager, where you can see all of your vehicles. Here we have on this line, we have this train, and we can see the line highlighted. And we have the line manager, which is basically the same as the vehicle manager, but it's the lines, not the vehicles you see. So repay. And yeah, I haven't actually tested how viable water is. I think water, like boats and water lines, is actually something that works in Transport Fever 2. In the first one, it didn't really work. Now, there is a big negative, that if you don't have possible routes along water, like you don't have factories producing stuff and then you can go upstream or downstream with a boat, then yeah, like transporting with boats is going to be very much useless. That's one reason why I don't like them, because they are very restricted in where they can go. And sadly, it's very few things you can do unless you have a lot of options. And if I remember correctly, this map in particular isn't really boat friendly. Sadly, so we might do some boats to show off if we get there, but probably not going to do a lot of boats. Mostly it's going to be road and rail, and in the next episode we most likely will do a bit of road stuff. So with that, we are coming to the end of this. And what we are going to do is actually turn off the date already. Let's go into cockpit mode, just for funsies. And let's do this outro. So, we are going to come back in the next episode with double the amount of trains, no loans, and a fairly decent amount of money, like 20 million maybe? Something like that. We'll see. But yeah, so in the Christmas holiday spirit, I'm going to wish you a Merry Christmas. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, a good holiday. And a Happy New Year. So, thanks for watching, goodbye, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.